All right, great. Okay, so welcome everyone. You're in room 6. This is questioning the algorithm, teaching students to critically evaluate AI. And we're really excited to have our presenter for this. We have Isabel Guara, if I said that correctly. She's a computer science educator advocating for high quality, engaging learning experiences for all students. She believes the most impactful learning happens when students can express their creativity and experience joy in the classroom and enact change in their community. After leading the computer science program of study at a Title I high school, Isabel joined the AI Education Project as the curriculum lead, where she currently develops innovative AI literacy curricula for high schools. So welcome, Isabel.
Thanks. I'm really excited to talk to everybody today. There's a question on the board. I don't know why I keep saying board, teacher have it. I'll quickly read it out and then I'll give everybody like a minute to just think. And if you want to respond in the chat with your ideas and opinion. So AlgoSpeak refers to code words used to avoid social media content filters. So for example, content creators started using the word panini instead of pandemic in early 2020 to avoid having their content, videos, and posts removed or downranked. So if you were a community manager at a social media company, how would you respond to the rise in AlgoSpeak? What would you think, or what would you do in response to AlgoSpeak? Maybe like 1 minute to think, put your thoughts in the chat. Thank you, Jamie says find a way to work around it. I see some people furiously typing. Take another 20 seconds or so. Hope everyone can add their thoughts. Come up with alternate ways to represent the vocabulary. You mean like computerally? To prevent it or to facilitate it?
Facilitate.
To facilitate it. Oh, so you're using the AlgoSpeak.
Yeah, I'm saying modify and adjust, more change.
Janie, I saw you unmute earlier. Were you going to add something to your thought? No. Okay, never mind. Have the filter understand the whole context of the post. Only were that easy. There will obviously be voices that want to be heard. Find a way to channel it in better ways. Tina, what do you mean by better ways?
Maybe have like a way to filter it into like, I don't know, I guess if they want a place to be heard, they can go over here. I don't know.
Oh, that's kind of an interesting idea, like have different groups or different audiences.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Isabel. Your question is that, I'm trying to understand, are you asking to try to find another workaround, or are we the tech innovators that are trying to overcome the people using the workarounds? Are we trying to avoid the workarounds, or are we trying to be the workaround?
Well, Michael, that's a great segue because it depends on the philosophy of your company. We had a lot of really good ideas. I appreciate that. that's a great segue into things you may have thought of if you're a community manager. So blocking words like panini is really awkward because what if someone is just posting about their delicious panini? So someone mentioned having a more sophisticated filter. That would be a pro. Algo speak is hard to address because, as someone mentioned, becomes a tug of war. New language is going to evolve. Someone also mentioned, maybe it was Beverly, finding out what words are being used. Maybe have some teenage insiders and they can give you the scoop about what teenagers are using. Also, who gets to decide, like, why was pandemic removed? There were concerns about misinformation, but it also removes correct information. So it's really complex.
Historical too.
Sorry, historical?
And historical, right.
Mhm.
That's a great point. And then also what's best for society versus individuals. So this is a really complex question, but it's also something that students interact with every day. We know students are on social media every day. And this is something they may or may not have navigated during the pandemic. So they are interacting with AI every day. And we need to equip them with the tools to be able to analyze and critically think about those algorithms that they know of and that they use every day. So some quick businessy stuff. I really appreciate the introduction earlier, by the way. I used to teach at Sunrise Mountain High School. I taught science and computer science here in the Valley. And I currently develop computer science and AI curriculum for high schools and for boot camps as well, for underrepresented groups. So I'm really excited to talk with you today and hear what you guys think. If you would just put in the chat, like, who you are, that would be great. Are you a high school teacher? Are you a middle school teacher? Maybe I saw somebody identified as an informal educator, an outdoor educator earlier. Are you an administrator? Hopefully we don't have too many of those now. Okay, so we got high school social studies. Oh, hello. Okay, good. Middle school. Okay, CS and applications. High school K-6 media science. Okay, any administrators or can we speak freely here? Okay, maybe you don't want to reveal yourself. That's okay. Okay, great. Okay, it's good to meet you. Okay, so the thesis today, there's one thing that you're going to walk away with, is that AI is woven into the fabric of our students' daily lives, whether they're coding it or they're just using it, mostly the second. And you can incorporate AI activities in and out of your classroom to build their capacity to critically think about AI while you're addressing CS standards. So AI is super relevant. It's super engaging to today's students because they work with it all the time. And we want to harness that energy to accomplish two motives. Like, we want them to be prepared for life, IRL, and we also want to, tick the boxes on our end so we know we're teaching them something valuable. So you just saw a 5-minute question that you can use to bring AI into your classroom. And that's from a curriculum I developed at the AI Education Project. It's 180 AI warm-ups. So mix and match, grab them if you want. I will give you guys the link to this completely free resource towards the end. And we'll be moving from that bite-size AI to medium size and larger, so you can see the different ways you can incorporate AI in your classroom. Okay, so quick agenda. We just did the intro, yay, done. We're going to talk a little bit about what the algorithm is. We're going to do a quick activity that's sort of like a shorter form activity you can bring to your students. People like say on Monday, in PD, they're like, you can do that on Monday, but you can. So that's the pessimist versus optimist activity. You'll have some time to explore some self-guided projects as well. And then we'll talk about standards and all that junk toward the end. Okay, the algorithm. Quickly in the chat, what is an algorithm? Your 20 seconds. What is an algorithm? Steps to solve a problem. Series of steps, way to solve a problem. List of instructions for doing ... whatever. Formula, okay. Okay, so we know what an algorithm is. Okay, that's expected. But what is the algorithm? When a student comes to you and they talk to you about the algorithm, I'll give you a hint. This is my hint. Take about 30 seconds. What is the algorithm? Our secret computer overlord. I love that. I might steal that phrasing. A glitch in the system? Input, process, output. That's an algorithm. Okay, so the algorithm, where the student says like the algorithm is creepy or the algorithm is so accurate. What are they talking about? Well, I've watched a lot of TikTok videos and I can come to you with a scientific definition that it is an unknowable, omnipresent, computerized entity like the overlord that controls your experience online from behind the scenes. And it's something that Gen Z knows about. They talk about how it's creepy, they talk about how it's really accurate, or they love recommendations or whatever it is. They know that it's there, but they see it as kind of an unknowable thing. Demon Seed, not familiar with that, concerned, I'll look it up later. So what is the algorithm? It's artificial intelligence. It's something students use every day. It learns about you. It tries to connect your experiences with other people. And that's why it's scary accurate. So there's no real consensus among young people about what exactly the algorithm is, but there's a lot of conversation about it. Sometimes it's helpful and it builds community, it helps you find your people, and sometimes it's considered creepy or intrusive or overly accurate. Yeah, Big Brother, exactly. But Gen Z loves to fight back. They know about the algorithm, but they're not just gonna let it do things to them. So from algo speak, this ever-evolving vocabulary, I'll let you guess what SEGS stands for, to installing ad blockers so that algorithms can't track them or just liking every post. Some students will just like every post so that they can't be profiled, or even just leaving the internet entirely and going into these walled gardens of Discord where your stuff can't be scraped and you can just talk freely without having your text fed into ChatGPT, hopefully. So this generation is really interested in fighting back. As teachers, how can we lean into this desire to fight back and control the algorithm and question the algorithm and do our job of teaching computer science? Okay, so my hope for everyone today is to find one activity that you would like to take back to your classroom and try out with your students. Okay, so first we're going to do that low lift activity as previously mentioned. And then you'll get a chance to explore some more long form projects. Any questions or thoughts or objections about the algorithm before we move on? Okay. And also while we're here, if you did not get the link to the slides, you can preview all my jokes and stuff in the comments of the slides as well. Okay, so a quick low lift activity to get the conversation started with your students. Get them talking about things that are important to them while you are discussing computer science and impacts of computing especially. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is to choose one of these 3 technologies I'm about to show you. They all use the algorithm, some kind of behind the scenes, black box, omnipresent force to do something. And I want you to write an opinion with your group mates about that technology from the point of view of a pessimist and an optimist. So what would a pessimist say about this? The worst thing that could possibly happen. I hate this technology so much, it's going to be the end of us. Or an optimist, this is amazing, this is going to change society for the better, I love this, etc., etc. Okay, so your options are Afterpay, which is something you may have seen, or Affirm, sometimes you see on Amazon, provides installment loans for stuff like shoes and skincare. Replica, which teenagers do use, which is terrifying. It's a chatbot that can act like your friend, partner, or therapist. or Lensa, which also you may have heard it became popular recently for creating a stylized avatar of yourself or retouching selfies. Okay, so you will need the slides. I have links here to start your investigation. And what's the time? If we could give everyone about 8 minutes in the breakout room, that would be amazing. I know, right? Well, there was a big controversy with Replica recently because they removed the sexualized chat features and there was like an uproar. It's a very interesting story. Okay, so pessimist and optimist per group, and we'll come back in about 8 minutes and I expect people to discuss. Go ahead. Thanks for making those rooms. I really appreciate that.
Oh, sure, no worries. I'm just making sure everybody got in. Paula hasn't joined. You can jump into room 3 if you want, Paula. Maybe she's not there. There we go. Okay.
It reminds me of teaching in the pandemic. And like there'd be that one kid that was like doing a bunch of different things.
I know. You're like, are you really there? What's going on?
I know, and then they're like, yes, there's some here. I'm going in right now.
So I gave them exactly 8 minutes when I set them up. Of course, it took like a minute or two for some folks to get in. So they actually have 6.5.
Well, that sounds like a them problem. So
Yep.
it's probably enough time, honestly.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Okay, I'll give them a few minutes and I'll just hop in randomly. Had you heard of any of these 3 technologies?
I have heard of the Lensa one because that's a big popular thing with the kiddos. Replica I have heard as well. The other first one I haven't. Afterpay, I haven't heard of that one. But yeah,
You may have heard of Klarna or Affirm, potentially.
Affirm sounds familiar.
Affirm is the one that's partnered with Amazon.
Gotcha. Yep. That's
I was gonna use Affirm, but honestly, Afterpay has better like documentation. So
that's nice. Yeah, the Replica is very scary.
what had you heard about it?
Not just the way the kids are using it, you know, just literally like a friend, you know, and especially for the introverted ones, it's very, it's the future is now, right? It's straight out of the movies. That's what they did. You know, they go home, they're making dinner and they're talking to their AI bot. You know, that's what we're used to seeing in the future, but they're doing it now.
I can't do that, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting because I think a big worry for this generation is anxiety and loneliness.
Uh-huh.
And it kind of gives them a tool to do that, but the motives aren't always aligned because, you know, they want to sell their subscription, but they, you know, they're not trying to be immoral, the company, but it's I would love to chat with them and know if they, and just listen and hear if they know that so many teenagers are using their platform and what they're doing about that.
Exactly. Yeah, what do they have? What measures do they have in place? I don't know. It'll be interesting to hear what folks say about this. This is a great prompt.
Oh, thanks. Okay, I'm gonna go bother some people. I'll be
Okay.
back in 4 minutes and 5 seconds.
Okay.
Would you be able to give everybody like 2 more minutes?
I don't know. Can I?
Actually, can I do that? I'm not
You
sure.
should. You might, as a co-host, you should be able to.
Oh, it's okay either way. It's not a huge deal.
Are they not letting us? I mean, I can send them back in. Maybe after they come in.
Oh, no, it's all right. We'll just chat. The chat will spill out into the main room.
Yeah. All right, they've been given their 1 minute notice. And then you're going to do another one, right?
Yes, of course, Zoom rearranges your screen every time you
I
present.
know.
Okay, while everyone is coming back, if you would just put in the chat which technology your group chose, I would really appreciate that. Okay, we got room 1 covered, chose Afterpay. What about rooms 2 and 4? I know 3 and 5 are still chatting.
2's back.
2, what did you guys choose?
The replica.
Replica. Okay, if you hear children like screaming in the background, I'm sorry, it's my neighbors. Okay, I'm really excited to hear what everyone has to say. So I would just like to open the floor for some discussion, either your optimist view of your technology or your pessimist view. And let's try and get a mix of both. If you'd like to unmute and share, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, this is Mark. I was the least optimistic, so they made me the pessimist. But I guess our concern with the replica was the possibility of reinforcing negative thinking. That you didn't want your virtual friend cause a negative downward spiral. And the other is that it could create a disincentive for going out and developing real friendships.
Just out
Yeah,
of
to-
curiosity,
Oh, go ahead.
Um,
Sorry.
two related questions. You can answer either one and do not have to answer both. But what do you think about like imaginary friends? Or if you've like seen Lord of the Rings, like I've been watching recently, what do you think about like Smeagol making up a golem as like a quote unquote friend?
Who was the question to?
To you?
I mean, I was the pessimist, right? I could see some positive impact, but yeah, I mean, the negative is that you're not talking to a real person, you know, developing real friendships that help you out in the real world. It could prevent you from building a real support system. So that was the negative. So I wasn't in charge of anything positive, just negative. So.
I did the positive. I and our other partner, and we talked about how having the chat from a friend could help people who are antisocial gain more confidence in their communication skills. It could even potentially teach the user how to communicate more effectively by giving advice. Can give them someone to lean on and support them, even if it's not real, but it can help them gain the skills to eventually obtain real friends and go out there, put themselves out there.
I love that. So it's not all bad. Maybe it would help. It would be harder for you to find a social support network and build those real world communication skills, but maybe it helps you build up your confidence especially if the program is designed that way to help teach you. Okay, Afterpay or Lensa? Optimist or pessimist?
So the Optimus with Afterpay, you wouldn't have to have that huge chunk of money out front if you needed a good or a service, and you have your 4 payments that will be deducted from that. Do you want our pessimist version too?
Sure, pessimist would say.
You got to make sure you have that money in there, and now you're putting your more information of your credit and money back out in the interwebs for more people to hack.
Plus, didn't we say that if it's like it's same as cash, I think, because you pay no interest. But I don't know what that actually does as far as actually building credit. And if you never think about things are due and your utilities, for instance, aren't paid on Afterpay, you might forget to pay your utilities because you're in the Afterpay mindset. And it's like walking out of a store with free goods, right? You make no payments the first time. It probably encourages you to buy more than you actually would if you had to have the money with you. So I imagine it's really, really good for people who sell that stuff and bad for consumers.
So from the pessimist perspective, I have a real problem with Afterpay's privacy policy and who they share purchasing data with, and all of that information. It seems pretty open that they can share it with pretty much anyone they feel like it. And purchasing data, especially historical purchasing data for an individual, is extremely powerful data. You can build a profile of a person and predict future actions just based on.
What's interesting about Afterpay and Klarna and Affirm is that none of them are profitable. So that's also a really fascinating angle if you want to get into a rabbit hole with that. I do want to make sure we have time to move forward. So thank you to everyone who shared. Really appreciate that. I know we didn't get to Lensa. However, I do want to move on a little bit so we can see what maybe a beefier project would look like to get students to question that algorithm and think about how those black box overlord type technologies work. So a similar activity here. I'm going to ask you to investigate one of the 2 example projects. I want you to think about how each project helps them to critically evaluate AI in their everyday lives. And I also, when we come back, I would love to discuss with you, how would you modify this project for your classroom? So we got a variety of different classrooms. We got Northern Nevada, we got Southern Nevada, and we have teachers with different subject areas. So I want you to think about, if you were going to take this back to your classroom, what would you change about it? So if everyone could have about 8 minutes in the breakout rooms. The 2 projects are facial recognition for good, evil, and everything in between, creating a Dungeons and Dragons inspired alignment chart for different uses of facial recognition. Is it evil or good? Does it promote individuality or does it promote order? The other project is deepfake PSA. So explaining the effects of deepfakes or fake videos on democracy by writing a press release. So I did want to note these are as of yet unreleased projects. So the link to the student guide will not work right now. So you'll just have the lesson plan, but I was really, really excited to share these with you guys early. So just be conscious that this is an unreleased preview and it will come out on March 6th of this year.
Do both links go to the same? They look like they both go to the facial recognition.
Do they both? Okay. Hold on hold your horses. Let me give you the deepfake PSA. It will take me about 22 seconds. Okay, if you are interested in deepfake PSA, there you go. So I'm sorry about that. In fact, let me fix that right now in here as well. Okay, you should be good. All right, I'm sorry about that. Thanks for letting me know.
Okay, so we just go to the breakout room and then choose which one we want in there.
Perfect. That'd be great. Okay, I'm gonna hop in there and just make sure everybody has the link real quick.
Sounds good.
We did pretty well, I think. I did a presentation earlier in session 1 on biometric facial recognition. So the group decided to go with that and make me the spokesperson, I guess.
Oh, that was your
Lucky me.
presentation.
It's all
We
good.
decided he was a ringer, so we let him go.
That finger is a ringer. Anyway, so I just went over briefly when I was in the research experience for teachers at UNR last summer, that we talked a lot about the security issues with facial recognition. And just the real basic is that the good part is that so frustrated with passwords. Password technology has been around since early 60s with when people started logging into terminals and that. So it's just so convenient to be able to just have your phone open up when you look at it, or your computer or something like that, or go on in and outdoors or whatever. It's just so nice and convenient without having to deal with passwords and key cards and things of that nature. So that's the positive part. And then the negative part is the hot topic in cybersecurity is privacy. So if I have, like that movie with Will Smith, Long Before the Slap, called Enemy of the State, I think it was. And that was back in the late 90s, about all the surveillance technologies that were out there, and very early facial recognition, mostly people recognizing faces on cameras, but now we got algorithms doing it. So the negative part is that, maybe I don't really want everybody to know where I'm going, because that could cause judgment for medical care, for employment and things of that nature. So, so that's kind of the good and bad of it.
I really appreciate that. So in the interest of time, we have 1.5 minutes left before I need to wrap up. Can someone from the deep fake, one of the deep fake groups, share a little bit about the lesson and your thoughts?
So actually, quick question on, or like comment on the facial recognition one. We were a little confused on like how this alignment chart thing works. So you guys may want to streamline your instructions or just add a little more detail of exactly what the expected output is supposed to be. But we did look at deepfakes, and we talked a little bit about how, most people kind of think of deepfake as the sort of AI Terminator style, like kind of bad thing. But there are some potential positive opportunities. For example, let's say your favorite movie series like Star Wars or something has an important actor who dies. They might be able to allow that character to live on in the universe by deepfaking the character. Or another even more kind of relevant for everybody kind of thing is, what if actors could work at home and work on like 10 movies at the same time, because they can record a video, even if the video and lighting and everything looks like utter garbage, but then they send that footage over, and then you can deepfake it such that it's in the right setting, has the right lighting, looks gorgeous. And so that is potentially an opportunity for greater earnings, right? Like there's more economic potential for actors or other folks.
I appreciate that. So thinking about applications, maybe even beyond politics. Okay. Thanks everyone for being so willing to discuss. I really appreciate everybody's thoughts. Okay, so we'll just quickly wrap up. I want to talk very briefly about standards, and then I'll share our free resources with you. If you want to bring this idea of questioning the algorithm to your students. So I don't know how much people are into standards. I think that they can be very useful to show that you're doing something useful, but also like a lot of stuff we do in the classroom is super valuable, addresses these standards and kind of goes beyond them as well. So I just picked out a few standards from ones that you may personally align to. So for computer science principles, as you probably know, if you teach it, 20 to 25% of the exam is the impact of computing. So talking about the algorithm with your students is a really great way to address that. And I just threw in some of the indicators that are really strongly addressed by materials like the ones we looked at today. Again, CSTA standards and impacts of computing as well. And then also, if you are familiar with the ISTE standards, these types of activities connect really well with the ISTE standards for being a knowledge constructor and also creative communication. Okay, and then finally, I wanted to just do a quick shameless plug for the completely free curriculum we have at the AI Education Project. We are a nonprofit. We do not sell curriculum. We give curriculum away to help teachers teach about AI literacy. So we have 2 curricula already, AI Snapshots, which we saw at the very beginning of the session. Intro to AI is like a 30-hour course. No coding, but it's all about ethics and introduction to AI, what it is, how it works. And then forthcoming on March 6th, we will have a set of challenges for students to complete on their own time or as a short like homework activity. And then also a bunch of projects. So you saw 2 of those forthcoming projects today in progress. Okay, so since I'm giving you 2.5 minutes here, I would sincerely appreciate if you would take our session survey. We have 4 indicators we measure our surveys on at the AI Education Project. So it is very short, and that helps me out a lot to improve in the future and just know what was valuable and not valuable to you guys. So I'll put this link in the chat as well. If you would just take a moment before you do your attendance survey to give us some feedback, that would be sincerely appreciated. And thanks so much for being here. I really enjoyed hearing what everybody had to say.
Thank you so much, Isabel. That was fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here.